I'm going to withdraw that question and reword it.
This is withdrawn before you not rule. Go ahead, please.
On any documents that you became aware of ever since, have you turned every one of those over?
Yes.
You personally? Videos, even now, do you know whether those, do you yourself know whether the videos ran or didn't run?
I do not know.
Okay. Are you the one responsible for videos going on the pumps?
I'm not.
The first video with the woman drinking the water,
Yes,
did you see how fast she ran after drinking that water?
I didn't notice.
Oh, okay. When you got real water at home, you and your family drank?
I was a consumer of real water, yes.
Okay. Did you run like she could that fast just by drinking that real water?
I haven't run like that in years.
Okay. Actually, when you were young, are you still a record holder in the state of Michigan?
To my knowledge, I do hold a track record at my high school in the state of Michigan. Yes.
What was that for?
4x200 relay.
Are you still able to do that?
No.
Have you, being a buyer, have you enjoyed your products over the years in the stores?
Yes, I'm a consumer of convenience stores. I used to be 150 pounds before I started.
Could you, first of all, would you give me an idea of the number of SKUs? At first, sure, you know, I may withdraw that. Would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what a SKU is?
Sure, a SKU is a stock keeping unit. It's the barcode. So if you look at any product that has usually 13 digits as a barcode, they refer that to it as a stock keeping unit, and it's unique to each individual product.
In 2019, approximately how many different SKUs did you have at Terrible Herbst in your stores?
So in 2019, Terrible's had well over 16,500 different unique SKUs.
And how many, so, and by the way, that's not all different products, because you might have different sizes, flavors, or whatever.
I think the
Would you,
easiest,
would you just explain how that works to the jury?
to explain a SKU or individual SKUs, the easiest one to look at is Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola can come in a 12-ounce can, individual, that's one SKU. It can come in a 20-ounce bottle, another SKU. A 1-liter bottle, another SKU. A 2-liter bottle, a 12-pack, an 18-pack, a 24-pack. So there could be 7 to 10 different SKUs for one brand, like Coca-Cola. That's probably the easiest one to explain.
And Real Water came in a couple of different SKUs because it had some different size bottles.
Yes, I believe there were 4 different SKUs of Real Water.
And approximately how many branded water, is this a branded water?
Yes,
Okay, so you can have fountain water, right?
you can.
Okay, fountain water wouldn't be branded.
No.
So if I or somebody here brings in their own container of water and they drink that, they're drinking tap water or whatever they get, and that's not branded water, right?
Correct.
Okay, now, if they go buy a bottle in the store and say, I want one of these, and I'll go into the names in just a minute, what do you call that?
They're brands.
Okay, approximately how many water brands did Terrible Herbst carry in 2019?
So, and I'm dealing with
Not SKUs, but the actual number of brands.
over 50 brands. And when we're talking brands, they're the ones that I mentioned, like Fiji Water, Essential Water, Eternal Water, Aquafina, Dasani, Smart Water, Voss, Life Water. Those are all individual brands.
And was Real Water your largest brand?
No.
Was it a top 5, top 7 brand?
No.
Okay. Let's just do like a rough comparison in 29 in size. Where did Real Water come against a top brand or one of the top couple brands?
2019,
Yes.
So our largest water brand for the last 5 years has been Dasani water.
Give us another couple and just
So
so the jury knows what are the
Dasani's
big
our
ones.
number 1 brand, Smart Water's our number 2 brand, and then Aquafina's our number 3 brand.
So how did it compare in sales and size to like one of the biggies?
So Real compared to Dasani would, from a sales standpoint, Dasani would outsell Real water 4.5, nearly 5 to 1. So for every bottle of Real, we'd sell 5 bottles of Dasani.
And by the way, does Dasani and Smart and Voss and all the rest of those have Anthony Williams promotional type people that try to get you to sell their product in the store?
Yes, and we've promoted this in similar ways with their products.
Well, if you went in at any random time to a store and you see boxes on the floor, would they at any particular time have any different waters or whatever that's next up or whatever you're giving some floor space to?
Yes.
And would it be actually a small amount, considering that there's 55 brands and that there's some real big brands, if you're going to look at whether it's on the floor or anywhere else, the chance of randomly seeing a water or boxes of water somewhere, the chances of seeing a Real water would be pretty small in light of the 55 brands, or no?
I mean, we promote all the water brands, but based on the volume, then Real water would have probably less inventory on the floor in the store.
Is that also true for the shelving space? So when you go to a counter, Mark, do you mind bringing up a photo of the store? Okay, let's go to this one. And so first of all, does this give us an idea of the SKUs? So if you look at your monitor for a minute, if we go along the line and we see all the different chips and nuts and all the rest of those, is every one of those individual products a SKU? But if there's even like 2, 3 bags, it's going to be one SKU.
It'll be the same SKU for each brand.
Okay.
Brand, size, flavor.
So as we look in their store, let me ask you this as just a real general way. Is there a lot of SKUs when we're looking in a store like this?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, would you flip to the other one that has the pop machine?
I just submitted it, it's exhibit 220. It's on 20.
Pardon?
It's on 20.
Oh, for that one? Okay. Yeah, just flip up. These are really demonstrative. Would you flip the one with the freestyle, with the pop machine on it? Okay, he's going to bring that up in just a minute. First of all, we're going to see a pop machine there. Tell me about that. The pop machine.
Well, I will call it a soda machine or a Coca-Cola freestyle machine.
Yeah, everybody, depending on where their parents taught, whatever their parents called it.
I'm from Detroit, so I know pop, so.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a, so that's a
Some
Coca-Cola.
people call it a Coke, even if it's Pepsi. I don't think Pepsi likes that, but, you know.
That is a Coke freestyle unit.
Imagine that Anthony Randolph, that's for Pepsi, when they call it, was that a Coke machine? His hair must stay up like this on the back. But go ahead and tell us about the machine, please.
So Coke freestyle machine.
Oop, I'm gonna interrupt you. What's a freestyle?
So freestyle is the name of the piece of equipment.
Okay,
And some of us might have seen this in restaurants like Four Subs, Burger King, but this is a fountain unit that makes a cold dispensed beverage. And with this, there's, I mean, they say today, but the amount of flavors and everything that's in the machine, you can make over 200 different mixes of different flavors of Coca-Cola products.
okay, and that gives you Diet Coke,
Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, Coke Zero, Mellow Yellow, all the different brands, and then
Yeah.
the flavors of all of those linings.
yeah, so then when you have the Diet, you can get a Diet Cherry, you get a Diet Vanilla, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Those social media posts, whenever it was 2023, that wasn't a posting date. Did you see on each of those that you saw, I think it was exhibit 36, 37, the one, you'll remember the ones,
I stated when I saw it, that the date captured was not the date that it was posted, it was the capture date,
and the posted date was what year?
2020. Well, I can only name the first one that I saw, I don't
Yeah.
recall the others.
And 2020 is before you became aware of any problem with health or recall with regard to this real water product, correct?
Correct.
I think I asked you, but I know you said you got this at home. And by the way, you got it as a courtesy. They sent you this. Tell me the backdrop of how,
Bless you.
how you got the water at home.
I purchased a water cooler from Costco that chills giant bottles of water.
Okay.
Purchased that years ago, was going to the local grocery store and refilling the bottles of water, and then contacted Silver Springs, which was a home delivery company. And at that point, and I don't recall exactly who, Ken or Anthony, so Ken Rathel with Nevada Beverage or Anthony Randolph with Real Water said that Real Water did home delivery. So they offered for me to get some bottles free at home to consume their product. So that's where it comes up that I consume the product. I received it at home. I don't want to make it sound like it wasn't a great benefit or something wonderful, but it became more of a pain refilling the bottles and filling the jugs than just getting water out of the refrigerator or buying bottled water. So we got rid of it after a half a year.
And when you drank any of the real water for that half year, did you or your family have any adverse problems?
No, not that I'm aware of.
And did anybody within Terrible Herbst, whenever it was being sold, ever report internally that they were having any problems, health problems with the real water?
No objections, seriously.
Council, can you please come forward? Council, first, we're losing track of time, remember when yourself so much? Okay, so, but it is 3:24, so we need to give you an afternoon break, so you can stretch your legs. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to come back at 3:45. During this recess, you are admonished not to talk or converse among yourselves with anyone else on any subject connected to this trial. You must not read, watch, listen to, and report other commentary on the trial or any person, entity connected to the trial by any means of information, including without limitation, social media, text, tweets, newspaper, television, internet, and radio. Anything I've not stated specifically is, of course, also included. Do not list the scene of the events mentioned during the trial. Do not undertake any research, experimentation, or investigations. Do not do any posting or communications on any social networking sites. Do not do any independent research, including but not limited to internet searches. And do not form or express any opinion on any subject connected with the case till it's fully and finally submitted to time of jury deliberation. With that, we wish you a very nice and relaxing break. Thank you so
All
much.
rise for the jury, please. Would roll please rise for the jury.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Oh, not yet. There's a red light. Okay, thank you. Outside the presence of the jury, counsel, there was a pending objection that you all brought to bench. The court just had given you a heads up to look at. Is there a withdrawal of the question? Is there a ruling that you need by the court? Is there an agreement of the parties? What is the current status of what you would like the court to do?
With true humility, I can't remember, and I can't get anyone else that remembers. It was a goose and gander argument.
It was motion. Okay. So please do that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, roll.
No, we appreciate any help, honestly, the court order.
Raised the issue. Objection by Mr. Parker. Mr. Parker, do you want to restate your objection with regards to that last question with regards to people not getting ill?
Okay, then I do remember. I just didn't remember if that was the last one. I'm going to withdraw and ask you differently.
His objection was hearsay when you came to bench. We addressed something in addition that got brought up, but that was a hearsay objection. So do you need the court to rule on the pending hearsay objection?
No, I'm going to reword the same thing so I don't have to have it verified either way.
So it's going to be withdrawn, so that if you just say it in front of the jury, the court will just say it need not rule. Does that meet everybody's needs, counsel for ETT? Does that meet your needs? You can just say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries. You're multitasking.
Yes, it does, thank you.
Okay. Real
That's
water?
fine, ma'am.
Looking for real water, yes, it does, Your Honor.
I heard Mr. Parker. Okay. So when the marshal comes back, we can bring our jury back in. It is 3:40, so do we think we're going to get another witness today, or just?
That's what I was asking.
Oh, yeah, I should be done within, Teddy and I talked, I should be done within 10 minutes.
No one's rushing you all. Mine is just merely a question, because I noticed your witness is no longer sitting in the courtroom, so I wasn't sure if that was for any reason.
He's just out there on the bench, Your Honor.
We plan on starting Dr. Hutt after they got done.
Right, that's
We're
what-
not gonna finish it, we'll.
She's just no longer sitting in here, that's why I was wondering if there was a difference.
No, I
It
think
doesn't matter if she's here or not
She
here.
was here, and she, I think she went to Dr.
Okay, no worries.
Joel Odou for Little Water, we will have an issue outside the presence of Dr. Hutt, and we would ask her to be outside when that issue gets raised, just giving the court the heads up.
Okay, so you're gonna ask her before she testifies, or is it a certain part?
It will, like, it's probably more efficient to do it while she testifies, she can do her introduction, and then we can raise our objection, take a short break outside the presence, put it on the record, and then keep going.
Okay, so then, would the court be reminding everyone of document 1095? Motion made number 6 for that next witness?
Yes, Your Honor, we have that, we have reviewed it, thank you.
Okay. Everyone's saying that? Okay, so when the marshal pops his head back in, and she is in just a second. Marshal, our counts are all ready for the jury, if you wouldn't mind going and getting them. We are ready for the jury. Okey dokey, thank you. You all can hear me okay, right?
We can, Your Honor.
Yes. Okay, no worries. My voice is starting to leave the building.
We had the pleasure of having to use masks for that trial at the convention center, Your Honor, for several months, and I know you're not enjoying it, but we can hear you, at least we can say that.
You Judge Gonzalez from the Convention Center.
We did. I felt bad for her, I felt bad for us, but
I took part two. Which I think you're all knocking that one up, I believe.
there's something still left?
There's, no, I think the order of dismissing the appeal just came here.
Oh, okay, good, all right. Thought that was done. You were involved in that, were you saying?
I was not involved.
What did you?
I'm gonna pause, Judge
You're gonna pause for a
I
second.
think somebody from our office was over there.
Marijuana.
In Ray DOT litigation is what they're referencing.
No, the trial started on Dan Wick's birthdays.
Okay.
All right, for the jury, please.
Come on in, folks.
And Your Honor, all members of the jury are present. Everyone please be seated.
I do appreciate it. Once you join, you can go to witness
You bet.
to Attorney for Kemp. Thank you so very much. As you're heading up to the stand, I will remind you again, just to have you confirm that you understand you're still under oath, okay?
Yes.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much. We're in cross-examination. ETT, DBA Terrible Herbst counsel. Feel free to continue for cross-examination.
Thank you.
Mistake.
Your Honor, there was a question that I'm withdrawing that, and I'm going to ask it in a different way.
Sure. No worries, since it's being withdrawn in the court, you not, go ahead, counsel.
Do you know of anyone, whether at Terrible Herbst, anywhere else, do you know of anyone who has been made sick or ill as a result of real water before the notice of the recall on March 16th of 2021?
Again, Your Honor, objection.
Counsels, would you all like to approach, please?
No, I'll withdraw that question. Did
No worries,
real-
there's no ruling necessary, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead, counsel. Thank you, sir. Sorry for that.
Did real water well, let's start with real water. Did real water ever tell you about its manufacturing process and all the different things it would mix to get this product?
No.
Do other manufacturers come in and tell you how they manufacture their products?
No.
Do they come in and discuss their formulas with you?
No.
By the formulas, I mean the formula of the product, whatever, the Coke, do they tell you what they put in Coke? Or,
No.
Just about done, ladies and gentlemen. Did you have a good relationship with Anthony Randolph?
I knew Anthony Randolph, we weren't close.
But in other words, was it a pleasant relationship?
Yes.
And do you have a pleasant relationship with most of the vendors that try to come and sell and actually do sell and promote their products?
I try to, yes.
And for the most part, is it successful?
Yes.
And then every now and then, is there one that's trying to drive you nuts or something else?
Yes, there are.
Okay, and Anthony Randolph wasn't one of those?
No.
The case is going, I may have asked you this, so if this is a duplication, I apologize. The free, on the coupon that we saw, there were I think two different waters that were free on the pump. There was real water and at least another packaged drink of some kind, right?
Yes, it was hot sparkling water.
Okay, and do other manufacturers of packaged waters and other packaged products offer you the same kind of promotion that we heard here with real water or not?
Yes.
There have you seen some indications that by the way, is there a number that it was about 371,000 in 2018 and 2019, that roughly 371,000 bottles of real water went through? Does that sound like a fair approximation?
Sounds fair, yes.
Okay, and then we'll get to the individual recall issue in just a minute, but in terms of, have you seen records later that you were able to stop the 371,000 or whatever, 370,996 out of the, in other words, all but 4 bottles somehow, at least by SKU, were all prevented from going out once the recall notice went?
Yes.
And do you, even for those 4 bottles out of the 371,000 bottles, even the 4 SKUs that went in, do you know whether that's actual bottles that were stored or that were sold, the 4 bottles, or whether that's a SKU issue?
There's really no way in telling somebody could have hand entered that SKU. So
In other words, by the error you're talking
it could have
about?
been an error or it could have been sold. I don't know.
Okay. And by the way, did Terrible Herbst ever sell those 5-gallon jugs
No, we didn't.
of real water?
Of any water, we have not.
So anybody that bought or consumed 5-gallon jugs of real water, that didn't come from Terrible Herbst?
Correct.
Let's go to Exhibit 40. Mark, would you bring that up, please? Yes, Exhibit 40. Take a moment, Mark. I'd like you, I'm down to about just a few questions on this one topic, and that's it. Would you take a moment and read through this email? Okay. Now, and I'm referring to Exhibit 40. This is this came from Ken Rathall at nevbev.com. Who is Ken Rathall?
Ken Rathel is a key account manager from Nevada Beverage.
And what's the date that you got this email?
I received it on Tuesday, March 16th, 2021 at 6:10 p.m.
Do you remember where you were at that time?
I actually do.
Okay, were you still working? Were you home?
I was at a business dinner when I received this email.
And what's the subject on it?
Real water recall.
And it notes that from, why is Rathall writing to you from NevBev about real water?
Because they were the distributor to Terrible's of real water.
And is Ken your person, if you
Ken
will?
is our representative from Nevada Beverage.
Okay. And it notes on 40, and excuse me, guys, I can't see that screen as easily, so I'm looking over this way. Thank you, appreciate it, Teddy. it says, Mark, we have received reports of alleged health concerns regarding real water. And for this reason, we are stopping delivery of all real water products until further notice, per their CEO. And then next, we will also be recalling all real water products in the stores. Please instruct your staff to pull the product off the shelves and hold for credit. Our sales representatives will credit full cases wherever possible and ROA loose singles as needed. Okay, so is this prior to this, had you ever been aware of either health concerns or alleged health concerns about real water?
This was the first notification.
And is this the first time you'd ever heard anything about a potential recall?
Yes,
When you got this message at 6:10 in the evening, when did you first see it, and what did you do when you did?
so I can't recall exactly what time I saw it. I saw it shortly after 6:10. Like I stated, I was at dinner. I excused myself from the table. I called my direct supervisor and said, Mr. Osa, I'm at dinner. I don't have the technology to forward a group email to all of the district managers at this time. If I forward you this email, can you send it on to the district managers to make sure that we start pulling the product as soon as possible?
Again, who's that person that you talked to by phone after 6:10?
Matt Osa, Executive Vice President of Operations.
And you just said you told him that you would be sending an email to him forwarding this?
Correct.
And did you send him an email after receiving this on Tuesday evening at 6:10 in the evening?
Yes.
Could you go to the 6:24 email, please? Okay. And is this next, which is all part of Exhibit 40, is this next email the email that you sent 14 minutes after receiving notice of an alleged health problem and a recall?
Yes.
And is this Matt Osa the same person you just told us that you talked to, and you told him, heads up, this is coming?
Correct.
And you'd asked him if he would then get this out to the general managers covering all the stores?
Yes.
And a general man, there's whether 8, 10 general managers, something like
At
that?
the time, there were about 10.
Okay, and then they then, each one has a number of stores, so they're the ones that would be the contacts to the stores?
Correct.
Okay, and so 14 minutes after receiving it, you already got this email out to Matt Osa after having called him and explained the importance of this?
Yes.
And how long did it take Matt Osa to get that message out to the managers to get this off the shelves? Can you flip to the next email, please? Is this Matt's email copying you, as well as Brian Breeden in the marketing? Is that his email copying you, telling the general managers, the C store, that's the convenience store part, right?
Yes.
That's the Terrible stores,
Convenience store, yes.
okay? And so that's the zone managers, that's the 8 to 10 people we talked about in the 2. Okay, you meaning 2, who is
Yes.
2? Okay, and does that tell them, please read the below that correspondence? So that's the one that's from Nevada Beverage, that says there's alleged health issues here, and there's a recall, get this off your shelves, right?
Correct.
And he said, please read the below correspondence regarding real water and the corrective action that requires you and your teams. What does it say after that, the last 2 words there?
Immediate attention.
After getting this, calling Matt, getting an email in 17 minutes, and Matt getting it out 3 minutes thereafter, and that, by the way, that's fast, but you had already called him to give him the heads up it's coming, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so by the time he gets it, there's no reason why it should take him a long time, because you called and said, hey, we need to act on this.
Yes.
And respectfully, that is your boss, so you're saying that more of, boss, we need to get this done,
Yes,
okay? And did that email go out then within 17 minutes of the initial notice that there's a potential health concern?
yes, I received the original email at 6:10, and it was communicated to the district managers, zone managers by 6:27 PM.
What did you do, if anything, as any follow-up to this?
So the following morning, March 17th, I personally called all of the district managers to make sure they've been in communication with their stores and that the product was removed from the cooler and the floor.
And were they had they either gotten it off the shelves, or well, better yet, what was the response?
So most of the conversations were my stores have already removed it and it's ready to be removed from the store. Some of them said, I've talked to my stores, I haven't visited all of them, but they were all in the process of either being complete by the next morning or already completed.
Okay, well within 24 hours of that first evening notice that there's an alleged health hazard.
Yes.
And then if you'd flip, Mark, would you bring up 41, please? And was this already by the next morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, was Ken from Nevada Beverage already suggesting a new water in place, since the others are all coming off, already suggesting a new water just come in place?
Yes.
Was the answer for that immediate attention responded to throughout the Terrible Herbst organizations through those district managers?
Yes.
I have no further questions, and I thank you. Counsel?
Counsel for real water, any questions for this witness? I believe I asked you before, but just double check.
Totally good for real water, no questions, Your Honor, thank you.
Appreciate that. Counsel, redirect this witness.
Yes, just briefly,
Mr. Walters, we'll finish you up in just a few minutes, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. You said something that I found very interesting, in a question by Mr. Boho. You said that Nevada Beverage is, quotation marks, I think this is exactly what you said, an additional check. Remember that?
Yes.
As in, Nevada Beverage is an additional check on the safety of that product. Correct?
Correct.
Which means that you should be, Terrible should be a check on the safety of that product, since Nevada Beverage is an additional check, correct?
No.
Oh, so you expect your distributor, who's not dealing with the buyers, to check, but you don't believe Terrible Herbst should check?
We don't have systems in place to check 17 to 20,000 items.
Do you know whether or not Nevada Beverage does?
I would assume because they're the only authorized Anheuser-Busch distributor in Southern Nevada that they have safety checks.
So you're saying a distributor who's not dealing directly with the public should check, but you, Terrible Herbst, who's dealing directly with the buyers, the people who come into your stores, you're not a check? That's what you're saying?
Correct.
I'm sorry, understood. You're saying, Mr. Walters, that the person delivering it from the manufacturer to you should check, but you, who's selling directly to the public, the person who's going to consume the water, you don't have to check.
We still have visits from the Southern Nevada Health District to make sure that our products are safe for the consumer.
Mr. Walters, I'm not asking about your store in general. I'm talking about the water you're selling. You sold to Mr. Hunwardsen. That water, you're saying you're not checking because you think Nevada Beverage has a responsibility to check, but not you.
We rely on the manufacturer and the distributor, yes.
So the bottom line is you hold Nevada Beverage to be an additional check, but you don't hold Terrible Herbst accountable for check. That's the bottom line, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Mr. Boho asked you about the documents that we've been going through, these documents that we've got earlier this month. Do you know how plaintiffs became aware of these documents? And I don't want you to tell me if you got that knowledge through the attorney for Terrible.
I don't know how they're acquired.
You said something about the number of SKUs.
Yes,
Would those SKUs also include the, you know, chapstick,
yes,
the breath fresheners,
yes,
the oil, I'm not putting any oil out. But the oil for cars, if you have, you know, W3010 or something, whatever, for your car,
yes,
10W30, right?
yes.
So, in terms of those items, you have a SKU for them. Are you telling me that it's less important to check the safety of the items you're selling just because you have a lot of items you're selling?
No, I'm saying that the safety of all items that we buy through suppliers and manufacturers of the items are important. The safety of all items.
Right, everything should be safe you're selling to the public, right?
Yes,
Including the water.
yes,
Except you decided, or Terrible decided, not to check the safety of the water you're selling, correct?
we do not have systems in place to check that.
Which means you don't have any quality assurance for the water, no quality control for the water. You take no steps to make sure that that water you're selling to the public is safe for drinking. Is that correct?
We receive packaged, sealed goods, just like we do from all manufacturers.
Sir, I didn't ask that, because Nevada Beverage received packaged water too, and you expected them to check. So you expect them to check, but you don't hold yourself out responsible for checking the safety of the water you're selling, correct?
Correct.
And is it fair to say, based upon what Mr. Boho asked you, that you've never visited the real water facility to make sure it's clean?
I have not.
You never asked Real Water for a single sample of any water test they've done to make sure there was no toxin in it?
I wouldn't know how to read a toxin report. I wouldn't know how to even test the water.
I didn't ask you if you know how to read it, just ask for it.
No,
Never asked for it. You never asked whether or not they've been inspected by an independent auditor.
no.
Mr. Walters, did Brian Breeden have a more direct relationship with Mr. Randolph?
I wouldn't know what his involvement is compared to mine.
Okay, because we've seen some emails that had both you and Mr. Breeden on those emails along with Mr. Randolph, correct?
Yes,
You don't know if he sent more to Mr. Breeden or not?
I wouldn't know.
Okay. But from the emails that you've seen, you do remember Mr. Randolph having been involved with Real Water for 10 plus years, correct?
Yes.
You would have expected Mr. Breeden to remember it as well?
Brian hasn't been with Terribles as long. I would
Okay.
expect him to remember, yes.
Oh, perfect. Do you have any information about Real Water's operation?
No.
So you sold the product not having any understanding of the cleanliness, whether or not they had any policies and procedures in terms of the safety of the water, none of that stuff? Is that true?
Correct.
Thank you. And let's say you had actually done some of those things, tested, visited, quality control, and you found there to be a problem. Would you pull it off your shelves?
Yes.
No further questions?
Reed Frost, counsel for EPT.
Sure.
Would you have the expertise within Terrible Herbst to do an honest and effective evaluation of the 16,700 SKUs in all your stores?
No.
Would you be able to go on, we just heard oil, would you be able to go to oil, WD-40, potato chips, everything, all the other products? Would you, first of all, have the expertise to test all of those 16,700 products yourself?
No.
And if you called and said, Teddy said something like, well, you asked him if he had tests. would you know whether a test would be effective? Would you have the expertise to know whether testing of all those different 16,700 products, and by the way, that's a little high, because remember they're skewed, so we'd have to bring it down for the products, because it's gonna be similar whether it's in a 500 milliliter bottle or 1 liter bottle, right?
Correct.
But maybe not, because like here, you might have the 5 gallon made one place and you might have the other in another place, right?
Yes.
And where'd you work before you came to Terrible Herbst?
I was with Pepsi for 15 years.
So if somebody wanted to just go check Pepsi, how many different places was Pepsi made around the country, so that you know the one that came to your plant, you'd know what plant to even go to?
You wouldn't.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Real water?
Joel Odou for Real Water, no questions, Your Honor.
Appreciate it, thank you. Any redirect counsel for plaintiffs?
No, Your Honor, thank you so much.
I think we've got a couple of jury questions. Marshall, thank you so much. And counsel, would you like to approach the jury questions? Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, excuse me. So, quick reminder of what the court said in the initial process. Remember, with regards to jury questions, perfectly fine. I gave you an advance notice, please don't be offended if some questions don't get asked. And they don't get asked for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it might not be the right witness, sometimes it might be some legal reason, some might be a prior ruling of the court, sometimes it may be because the witness may have already answered the question, and a variety of different reasons, okay? And the reason why I'm saying that is because the court's gonna be able to ask one of the 2 questions, okay? So, and remember, as far as the standards, up to you, as ladies and gentlemen of the jury, to decide what weight to give an answer, regardless if it's a jury question or by any of the counsel, okay? Or the court hasn't asked the questions yet. Okay, so, I'm going to read what a process is. The court reads the question as is. If I mispronounce something, or, you know, I've been practicing to be a professional, so my handwriting is probably not the best, so, you know, I try and read it as is, but at the same time, appreciate that we're gonna do our best to do so. Then what happens is I ask the witness just to answer the question as I've read it. Then each of the counsel have an opportunity to ask a couple follow-up questions if they want, only to this question, not go to other issues, okay? Everyone understands that process? Okay, got it all taken care of. So, here's the question. On Exhibit 8, Part 10, said they did not have an agreement with Nevada Beverage. Was that a typo?
So we did not have a signed agreement, we did not have a document agreement with Nevada Beverage.
Did I answer the question in satisfaction of the jury that asked it? Okay, so now at this juncture, I circle around to each of the counsel. I start with the counsel who called the witness, and then I go to the other counsels in no particular order. So, counsel who called this witness was plaintiff's counsel, since we're in plaintiff's case in chief. That means counsel for plaintiff. Do you have any follow-up questions to that jury question?
You know, just very briefly, Mr. Walters, that means you had nothing in writing?
There,
Objection is just so broad, Your Honor.
The court's going to sustain the objection for so vague.
No
Rephrase, please.
written agreement with Nevada Beverage?
correct.
Did you have any oral agreements with Nevada Beverage?
I'm sure we had oral agreements on pricing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you. So then I'm gonna go next to, I'm gonna go to the order that I asked for the questions. ET&T, I asked you for your cross-examination first, so I'll go to you next. Do you have any questions for this witness based on the juror question?
Your Honor, just one, and that's, why don't you have a written contract with Nevada Beverage?
We don't have any written agreements with our wholesale distributors.
How do you do your business? Sorry, I said one, but Your Honor, how do you do your business? In other words, how does it work getting, before the recall notice, how would you determine how much real water, how it was paid? Just explain to the jury, if you would, what that process was through Nevada Beverage.
How much real water would be based on the store's needs, right? So it's based on what the store is selling, and then the Nevada Beverage team, they have a sales team that would deliver the product. There was no agreement on set amount of cases, no volume agreements, none of that.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thanks. Real water.
Joel Odou for Real Water, no questions, thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Okay, that concludes the juror questions. That concludes the council follow-up at this juncture. This witness excused, subject to recall, or for all purposes, counsel for plan.
For all purposes, Your Honor.
Counsels for real water.
Joel Odou, excused for all purposes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Counsels for ETT.
Your Honor, Dan Boho on behalf of ETT, excused for all purposes.
Do appreciate it. So all three sets of counsels. So this witness is excused. Thank you so much for your time. You can leave those binders there. We'll get those taken care of. Please just watch your step on your way down. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. If you brought anything, please make sure you take it with you. Sorry, sometimes people leave cell phones and all sorts of other things. I give a friendly reminder. Okay. So at this juncture, counsel or plaintiff, would you like to call your next witness, or do you need to approach? What would you like to do?
Yes, Your Honor, we call Dr. Hutt, please.
Okay, thank you. Just understand. And you need either of those binders, or can the marshal return those to you?
No, we don't need it.
Okay. Thank you, Marshal. Would you like to thank the counsel? Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under pain and penalty of perjury?
I do.
You may have a seat, and please state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Dr. Catherine Adams Hutt, Catherine. Last name is 2 words, Adams, space Hutt.
Okay. Counsel, feel free to commence with your direct examination.
Good afternoon, Dr. Hutt.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Hutt, can you tell the jury how you got your doctorate?
I went through a Bachelor's of Science degree at the Pennsylvania State University, and I received a degree in food science. I went to Michigan State University, received a Master's in Science degree in food science and human nutrition. And finally went to the University of Illinois, where I received a doctoral degree in food science, doing a clinical nutrition project.
And can you tell the jury what food science is?
Food science is the chemistry of food. It studies the food as a commodity, as a variety of commodities, from fruits and vegetables, meat, poultry, fish. It includes aspects of agriculture, but it also includes aspects of food transition into manufactured processed products, as well as fresh products. So everything you see in the supermarkets and the retailers is the product really of food scientists, be them research and developers, or food manufacturing, or marketing, or all food scientists. Many of us are food scientists.
And after you got your doctorate in food science, what did you do?
I went to work. I first went to Washington, D.C. I wanted to work in food policy. Went to work for a trade association, a professional scientific trade association called the International Life Sciences Nutrition Foundation. I did work there for a couple of years. I went then to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I was first hired into the Extension Service, and then ultimately to the Food Safety and Inspection Service, which is the regulatory arm of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which has the regulatory responsibilities, the federal regulatory responsibilities for meat and poultry. I did work there. I rose to assistant administrator of the agency, which is third highest ranking position within the agency of about 7,500 individuals, which include veterinarians and union members, as well as other food technicians. I left USDA and went to work for another industry trade association called the Grocery Manufacturers of America. I left there, being that trade association work was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to implement things. And I went to work for Campbell Soup, the company in charge of next generation quality systems development and implementation. And I worked there to develop quality systems and food safety systems based on ISO 9000, which is an international standard, which basically is a blueprint for quality management. And I supported the development and implementation of that system in over 100 plants globally for Campbell Soup Company. I went from Campbell Soup Company because I wanted to work in food service. I went from there to Yum Brands, which is the owner, parent company of Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and KFC restaurants. And there I was in charge of restaurant food safety and also supplier quality and food safety. So we were in charge of supplier audits and supplier food safety management. as well as implementing food safety programs in all of our restaurants globally. From Young Brands, I went to work for Campbell's Soup Company, I went to work for H.J. Heinz Company. I went back into manufacturing. I was director and responsible for quality systems and food safety for all of North America, H.J. Heinz plants, which has a diversity of plants, including condiments and ketchup, but also chicken manufacturing, soup, and other food products, other processed food products, including some frozen foods. I went from H.J. Heinz to Coors Brewing Company, where I was Chief Quality Officer for Coors Brewing for about a year before I was hired into McDonald's Corporation as their Chief Quality Officer, the Global Chief Quality Vice President. And there I was responsible for food safety, quality management for our global system, truly global in 4 different continents, and also worked as part of the supply chain group and implemented some important systems there based on HACCP, which we'll talk about later on. But I did a variety of things for McDonald's Corporation, ultimately became responsible for their nutrition policy. And we did some important work there. And then I became a consultant in 2008, and I've done a variety of work there. I've been a quality consultant, a food safety consultant, I've done some crisis management work, and also some work as an expert witness. In addition, I was Chief Scientific and Regulatory Officer for a consumer trends company called Sloan Trends. A very small consumer trends company, but we would advise clients on consumer trends, consumer behavior, purchase behavior, and I did the scientific work on ingredients and health and wellness for our consultant partners.
Okay, and let's go back to McDonald's for a minute. You said you were involved with quality assurance.
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury what quality assurance is?
Quality assurance is a process by which we assure consistency of the product made. The key to quality is consistency. We're not culinary chefs going in with a recipe and tweaking it every time we make it. We want the product which is designed one way, we want it to be made that way, without variation, consistently, day after day. If you're making a meatloaf, for example, you're going to make that meatloaf look the same, taste the same, have the same texture, have the same weight every day, and the same nutritional value. So it's about knowing what your target is, knowing what you're working to deliver, the product as specified, as we call it, and then delivering that consistently with minimal variation every day. That's the quality process.
And does a place like McDonald's have procedures in place to make sure the products they buy meet certain quality standards?
Yes, we have procedures in place. They still do, but we have procedures in place for the restaurants to implement food safety programs. We also had procedures in place for our suppliers to develop, design products, and to implement the quality and food safety programs as well. They were all written, documented in numerous manuals. At that time, they were actually hard copy bound notebooks, if you will, which included standard operating procedures, policies, work instructions. We had the hierarchy of policy, standard operating procedures, and work instructions. And we use those tools, those documented tools, for training for consistency. And that's how quality and food safety works.
And you mentioned something called HACCP. How's that spelled?
It is HACCP.
Shane, can I have HACCP up there? And can you see that, Dr. Hutt, I think on this side?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, cool. So can you explain to the jury what each of those letters mean?
Sure. It means hazard analysis and critical control point system. And it is a tool which was developed to ensure food safety and to ensure the integrity of food safety systems over time so they didn't erode. It was a tool developed, which I am proud to say I had a personal hand in its development as part of an international community and its implementation as a regulatory tool in the United States.
Okay, when you say you had a personal hand in development, could you expand upon that?
Yes, when I was at USDA in the Food Safety and Inspection Service, we had multiple recommendations from scientific and academic groups and congressional groups that we needed to improve the way we did inspections. We used to call it floors, walls, and ceiling inspections. An inspector would go in, he'd look at the floors, he'd look at the walls, he'd look at the ceiling, looking for condensation, various things that could be food safety risks. But it wasn't a very structured, it was a structure, but it wasn't a very systematic or intelligent way to do food safety inspections. What we wanted to do, what we were encouraged to do, and what we started doing, and I started this initiative at USDA as a regulatory tool, was to use this logic sequence, thought process driven hazard analysis and critical control point system to make a manufacturer think about how they're making food. If they're making food that has potential risks, what are those risks? Define them, understand them, learn how to manage them, write it all down, document it, and then implement that, monitor it, verify it, and keep it going. And I can explain that in more detail. But basically it's about identifying a hazard, what's the risk to public health, what's the risk, be it biological, that's bacterial, for example, chemical, which could be toxins or chemical solvents, and also physical, which would be foreign objects. Identify those array of hazards that could be present in your food product. And then do a hazard analysis, which is a documented thought process which says, here are all my ingredients, and I'm going to understand what are my biological, chemical, physical risks, write them down, and then what is the likelihood that they will occur, and what is the severity of the occurrence if it happens. So we understand where our hazards are in our hierarchy. And then we define the critical control points from there. What do we have to do in order to prevent a hazard from occurring? And if anything is a step in which it can be, that hazard can be eliminated or prevented or controlled to a reasonable level, then it's declared a critical control point. And for that point, you have to have critical limits. A good example is a cook step in a manufacturing process. There you're killing bacteria. So your cook step is the CCP, the critical control point. Then you have critical limits. To what temperature do you need to cook it to? 155, for example, for a hamburger product, 160 for poultry products. So you define that critical limit. Then you define, after that, you define critical parameters. Then you define your monitoring activities, and you document this. What do you need to monitor? How frequently are you going to monitor it? And who is going to monitor it? All documented. And then there are records that are kept of that documentation. And so record keeping is another piece of HACCP. There also is a corrective action planning. You have to plan. So what if this did happen? What's the corrective action? It's documented before the hazard actually occurs. What are you going to do if it goes wrong? Here's how you're going to fix it. And then verification that corrective action was effective. And then finally verification of the whole system as it's designed, which is a food safety plan, now it's codified as a food safety plan, that it is designed appropriately, your controls are in place, you're monitoring effectively, and it all works for food safety.
Okay, and let's go back to those places you worked at. Did Campbell Soup use HACCP?
Yes, it was clearly HACCP was in the public domain at that point, and we incorporated HACCP as a food safety tool into our quality management scheme, which was based on ISO 9000, and implemented that globally in over 100 plants.
And how about HG Heinz? I think that's ketchup, right?
Well, it's ketchup and a lot of other products too, but yes, we implemented HACCP in each one of our plants for each one of our products, whether it's a frozen food product or a condiment or a soup product. Every one of our products, and HACCP is product specific. It's not line specific or plant specific, it is product specific, so that all the ingredients that go into that product, they can be like ingredients, but if the process and the product are the similar ones, then they can have one single HACCP plan. But it is unique to a single product, if you will.
Did McDonald's use HACCP?
Yes, we use HACCP in food service also because it was simply the best way to manage food safety. It's documented, it's rigorous, it's reviewed, it has systemic cues, if you will, that every year you're going to review your system to make sure it still works. And it's just a really fabulous way with international recognition. This is the way that food safety is managed globally around the world right now. And I was pleased to have a part of that in the 1980s, late 1980s, in developing the system.
And Yummy Brands uses HACCP?
It's Yum Brands.
Yum Brands.
With an exclamation
You
point.
got yummy for me. All right.
Yes,
Yum Brands.
Yum Brands also, we used HACCP in our restaurants, and also used HACCP with our suppliers, made sure that our suppliers, every supplier to Young Brand Concepts, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, KFC, had HACCP programs in place. And we monitored those. We did supplier audits.
And how about Coors, do you use HACCP too?
HACCP was part of our program within the Coors Brewing Company. The food safety risk relative to beer is minimal, considering other food products which have a higher bacterial contamination risk. But yes, we did implement HACCP also at Coors.
Okay, and lastly, before we break for the night, have you ever testified for Congress for good?
Yes, I testified before the U.S. Congress 9 times.
And on what subjects generally?
I represented my agency, which was the Food Safety Inspection Service, and several of those times I did talk about HACCP. We were implementing HACCP. We needed congressional support for that. They needed to know what we were doing, why we were doing it, and to bolster that support, I did testify numerous times on HACCP. I also testified on behalf of seafood inspection before it was a program that the Food and Drug Administration ultimately got. We testified that USDA wanted it also. We got catfish, but we didn't get the rest of the fish in the sea. But and the other one was a policy testimony for the Agricultural Marketing Services slogan, "The Other White Meat."
And Your Honor, I think this is probably a good place to break for the night.
Sure, so ladies and gentlemen, before we break, we're still pending on what's gonna happen on the 6th, but I at least have time starts for the 5th and 7th. I don't think I gave you those yet. 9 a.m. on the 5th and 9 a.m. on the 7th. So where we're at is, tomorrow is Thursday, I think. It's all over right there. So February 1st, tomorrow is 10 a.m. is what I told you last time. That's still our best estimate. We've been able to move a lot of things, got 23 hours on first thing in the morning. On Friday, we're currently at 10:30. Tomorrow, I may ask you if we can start a little bit earlier because depending on some of my motion. The things are happening tomorrow will determine how much time I need in the morning before this case on Friday. So right now we're at 10:30, but I may be asking for earlier, so if you wouldn't mind checking your schedules to see if that's a possibility. I'll let you know tomorrow morning. The 5th is 9 a.m., the 7th is 9 a.m., and we're still working out the 6th because there's a lot of moving parts on that particular day, okay? So that gives you the best estimate of where we're at, and so I'm gonna give you the evening recess. Feel free to pull out the lunch sheet of paper if you want with the dates. Does anyone want me to repeat those dates? I know, okay, sure, let me go back. Dates and times. February 1, 10 a.m. February 2, just like currently 10:30, but I may ask you tomorrow to see if you can come in earlier, depending on some motion practice that I have tomorrow morning, okay? So currently 10:30, but I might be able to start as early as 9:15, depending on some things for tomorrow. So we'll check with you tomorrow on that. Monday, February 5th, 9 a.m. Tuesday, February 6th is still up in the air because we're moving some things. We're trying to see how much time we got on that. Then on the 7th, 9 a.m. Okay? I'll be glad to say it another time. You good? Everybody got it? Okay, so feel free to rip out that sheet of paper if you want. You do the rest. And so, ladies and gentlemen, now that I've heard all the ripping of the sheets, we're going to get a recess acknowledgement for overnight. During this overnight recess, while you're relaxing and not thinking about this case in any manner whatsoever, other than making sure you're here on time tomorrow, you are admonished not to talk or converse among yourselves with anyone else on any subject connected with this trial. You must not read, watch, or listen to any report of or commentary on the trial or any person or entity connected with this trial by any medium of information, including without limitation, social media, text, tweets, newspapers, television, internet, radio, anything I'm not saying specifically is also included. Do not visit the scene of the events mentioned during the trial. Do not undertake any research, experimentation, or investigation. Do not do any posting or communications on any social networking sites or anywhere else. Do not do any independent research, including but not limited to internet searches. Do not form or express any opinion on any subject matter of the case of holding felons to make its time of jury deliberations. That we wish you very nicely on this evening. Thank you so much.
All rise for the jury.
Should I ask you all to come at 9:30 in case there's some matters outside the presence that we need to address? I'm not guaranteeing I'll be done by 9:30. Some people in this courtroom might know whether I'll be done by 9:30 or not, but all I'll say is I'm asking you all to come at 9:30, and then we'll figure out if we need to do something outside the presence. Is that a challenge for anyone?
We don't have any issue, not at all.
Pardon?
Your Honor,
Oh, good.
Joel Odou, Real Water. We haven't reached the issue yet, so we would anticipate the hearing to go out on the stand, and when we reach the issue, we'll make our objection. So right now, I have nothing outside the presence, just
Oh.
inform the court.
Okay, I didn't know if you needed that addressed before. You don't, okay?
We have nothing to address at this time, Your Honor.
Well, I would love to have lovely rosy colored glasses that there won't be any issues. However, that's not been the case any day, so it seems to me it's best to reserve the time and ask you all to come at 9:30,
I
right?
can be here then. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. And Your Honor, may I ask, you're still saying something?
No, I was calling you, Mr. Boho, did you want to say something?
Just ask if I could ask who the witnesses are going to be tomorrow, so we can, do you know?
We got Hutt,
Okay.
Marlowe, and after that, I'd like to pick up the next Terrible Herbst. Oh, I'm sorry, I
So Mr. Hutt,
apologize.
Mr. Marlowe, and he'd like to pick up something with Terrible Herbst, but the word would drop.
Exactly, the Terrible Herbst witnesses. So,
You want to give me one if you would, or, and then I have Mr. Kemper here. Trish will be here tomorrow, so Mr. Kemper will also be here. And then if you have somebody else you want,
I want to start with Brad Sexton, and then followed by Mr. Bree.
And Your Honor, I promised Mr. Marlowe that he'd be first up, because he sat here for 4 hours, and he can't drive, and he has to get his.
Sure. Okay, so you want to do outside, you want to do an accommodation that this witness would go off the stand, you take Mr. Marlowe and then she come back on?
I want to talk to him, it might be Friday morning, though, I just want to tell counsel that, because we haven't talked to Mr. Marlowe, I just told him we get him first up.
We have no objection to whenever plaintiffs want to call Mr. Marlowe first up.
right, whatever works, well, that's fine by us.
So are people suggesting I should say 9:45, not 9:30, just when I've done that, usually it's amazing, the evening and you all consult among each other that new issues pop up, so.
Judge, I could be here at 9:30 anyway out of curiosity, so.
This hearing started at 8:30. But, okay, so at 9:30 for counsel, we told the jury, because, you know, realistically, the more we can keep on target with them, as you know, is better for you all as the counsel and your client. So, okay, this judge, then we are adjourned for the evening. Please can feel free to get off the stand, watch your step, and you've admonished the witness. Well, let me let the witness start going, okay? And so the witness understands she cannot speak with any of our panelists,
Yes.
our jurors, okay, sorry. Mr. Polsenberg, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, just trying to get a better grasp of what we're doing on Tuesday, the 6th.
That's why I said to the jury, we're still, it's a moving target, that's why.
I know that, and we may just not have them at all. I understand it's really in the air for them, but I don't know if we
It's
have.
still in the air, it's very cloudy air right now, that we're trying to see how many of those clouds we can have moved off somewhere else. We want to take care of all the cases on our docket fairly and equally, and we're trying to see what we can do about some of those other cases to see about your finding. So that's why we're checking on all of that, okay?
Superb. Thank you, Your Honor, I
Thank you so much.
appreciate
And
it.
some of those cases might impact your firms, so, for example, if people have a Rule 16 conference and they want it to be